Chris Hipkins.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. And I only want to take a very brief call on the Standards and Accreditation Bill because I basically have a few questions for the Minister and the Chair, and I'm sure that they are ones that he'll be able to deal with relatively quickly. Sitting here in the chamber tonight, I picked up a copy of the bill and I read Part 2, Clause 39, which is the regulation-making powers that the bill provides. Now, there aren't many people in the House that get excited about regulation-making powers in bills, but I am one of them. I am one of them. And as a previous member of the Regulations Review Committee, I am one of the people who finds regulation-making powers quite interesting. Now, Clause 39 states the Governor-General may, by order in Council, make regulations providing for any matter that is contemplated by this Act as necessary, A, for giving it full effect, or B, for its administration. Now, those are incredibly wide-ranging regulation-making powers. And while I've looked at a number of regulation-making powers and bills, I don't think I have seen one that are quite so broad. So my question for the Minister really is around what the justification is for there being such a wide regulation-making power in this legislation. Because we've established over a long period of time the primacy, the sovereignty of the Parliament when it comes to establishing the laws of the land. The Regulations Review Committee has typically taken a very dim view of legislation that creates uncertainty by giving overwhelming regulation-making power to the executive, which this very, very broad clause seems on the face of it to do. The current approach to regulation making tightened up significantly after the Muldoon government, because back then Rob Muldoon would frequently pass through the House laws that basically gave him regulation making power to effectively make new laws without reference back to the Parliament. And Chris Bishop's very excited about that. I think he works for Stephen Joyce, and I think or used to work for Stephen Joyce. I think that's a regulation-making power they would love to have, and would have loved to have when Chris Bishop was working for him. But the reality is we frown upon those, and we frown upon those because we have an established principle that it is the Parliament that should be making laws, not the executive. And while the executive propose laws to the legislature, they are not solely responsible for their passage. The House has that prerogative. We put them through a select committee process. We make sure that they are robustly tested. And yet this clause here, Clause 39, seems to give the executive power to make any nature of regulations under this Act. That does seem incredibly broad. And so I guess the question that I have for the Minister and the Chair is why such a broad regulation-making power? Have I misinterpreted that? But I don't think I have, because I've looked at many regulation-making powers provided for in bills and legislation, and I've never yet seen one that's as broad as this one. So I think it is important that where the House is giving such wide regulation-making powers to the executive, that is tested. I note the Regulations Review Committee has provided feedback on another part of the bill, which is the commencement clause. I'm sure the debate on that will tease out the concerns of the Regulations Review Committee on that, but I notice that they haven't provided feedback on that particular clause, and it may well be that there is a good explanation for why such a broad power is being allowed, but I would very much like to hear it, and I hope that the Minister and the Chair will give the House the benefit of that argument and that information before we vote on Part 2, Clause 39. Thank you.